going? Hope you're going well. I am in my little meditation space teepee, and I thought it would be a great space to do my new segment on this channel. I'm doing a segment called the Hormone Ride, and yes, we'll be talking about hormones, periods, women's business, and a whole bunch of other things. The reason why I came up with this segment is because I went off the pill late last year in December, and my body has gone through a huge hormonal ride. In this video, I'm going to be explaining what I went through when I was on the pill, how it affected me, and then I'm going to explain my symptoms and what happened to my body when I went off the pill. In my next coming videos, I'm going to be speaking about my skin, because girl, that shit has broken out bad, and my hair, yep, another story, and a whole bunch of other things. Before I get into everything, I just want to say that this segment isn't really an original idea. When I first went off the pill, I looked to YouTube for inspiration. I wanted to hear other women's stories, I wanted to see what they went through, and I sort of wanted to prepare myself and my body for what was about to happen. They really inspired me through that time of going off the pill, and they inspired me to share my own experiences with all of you. So the videos that I did watch, I will leave them in the description box below if you want to go and check them out, because I want to make sure I'm giving them credit. And also I just want to put a disclaimer in there that just keep in mind that everybody experiences things differently. My experience with going off the pill and what I went through might not be your experience. It might not happen to you. Also, what might work for me with helping my body might not work for you. I went on the pill when I was 18, and I have been on it for 11 years, which is a really long time, and I really wish I wasn't on it for that long, but I was. I went on the pill literally just for contraceptive reasons. Now, I have pretty much been on Yasmin the whole time of being on the pill. I first went on Yasmin and it worked well for my body, but then I started reading a whole lot of things about how bad Yasmin is. So I did try a few other pills in that time frame. Can't remember what they were, but unfortunately my body just couldn't process them. I spotted, had a lot of breakthrough bleeding while being on these other pills, and it just wasn't working for me, so I went back on Yasmin. Yasmin is so expensive, so to not pay 70 bucks anymore every 3 months is amazing. Being on Yasmin, I didn't really have any bad symptoms or anything like that, despite the things that were said about it. I always had my period. I never really skipped my period because for me there was no real point. I spotted anyway. The only side effect that I really had was vaginal dryness down there. I know that's like a little TMI and whatever, deal with it. It's, you know, a common thing, and if you're a woman, you understand me. I also just remembered that being on the pill, I had a little bit more anxiety and I dealt with panic attacks. Most of the time, it was the situation that I was in that was bringing up the anxiety and the panic attacks. But being off the pill, I have noticed a bit of a change there. So I do feel like, in a way, it did contribute to my nervous system and my anxiety and all of that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. When I was on the pill, I only had one tiny little break in the 11 years. So I had a break for 3 months a long time ago. I was going through a lot at the time. I was going through a very stressful time in my life. A lot was happening in my body, and so my gynecologist told me that I should go off the pill and just see what happens. I went off it and I spotted for 3 months every single day. And instead of writing it out and just seeing how my body handled things once it calmed down, I went back on the damn pill because I think it was advised that I go back on the pill. And I really wish I didn't listen to that. That was the only break that I had, and that's pretty much everything about the pill and how I felt while being on it. Now let's talk about what happened to my body when I went off the pill. I just want to say that even though my body is going through this huge change and I've had to deal with some unpleasant stuff like my skin breaking out, I must say that going off the pill was the best decision that I have made for my body besides going vegan. Being off it, it just feels so much better. I feel so much more centered in myself. I feel more like me, if that makes sense. And it just feels good to not be putting artificial hormones into your body and messing around with its natural cycle. It is healthy to have a cycle. It is healthy to have a period. I just feel really good about letting my body do its own thing. So I had my period before I came off the pill. So from the 6th of December to the 11th of December, I had my period. Then I finished the pill packet, threw it out, and that was that. Now, I didn't have any breakthrough bleeding when I first came off the pill. I know some women get that before their first real period. I didn't, and I think that's because I actually had my period and then finished the pill packet. So my body was still in that rhythm of things. In that first cycle of coming off the pill, I didn't have any real symptoms at all. My body didn't feel any different, and I think it's basically because my body still thought it was on the pill. So it was really, really confused. Now I got my first period. Lucky I got my period, because some women do struggle to get their period. I got my period on the 7th of January till the 11th of January. When I had my first period, I spotted for literally 5 or 6 days, and it was sporadic spotting. So I had spotting for 2 hours, and then it would go away, and then it would come back for 4 hours, and then it would go away. It was not a real period, and I was very confused. And even though I was like, damn it, it's not a real period, I was expecting that because my body was confused and is still trying to like detoxify itself and figure itself out. So by this point I'm like, okay, this is my second period off the pill and it's still not right. I spotted for 7 days on and off, sporadic again. When you're on the pill, you have like pretty much a 28-day cycle. So I've gone from 32 days, 30 days, 36 days, and then back to a 28-day cycle. I spotted for 7 days, but with 2 days of like a light period. So when I had that light period, I thought, okay, good, I'm like getting like a normal period, but no, I just had that for 2 days and then it went back to spotting. That period I spotted for 6 days with a few days of a light period. So pretty much the same as the time before. Not much to report there. I spotted for 9 days. But this time it was a little bit different. So I actually had probably about 2 days of a medium period where it seemed pretty normal-ish. Now, in myself, I know that that's not right for me. I know every period is different for every woman, but for me, I know my body, I know what my body was like, or what my periods were like before I went on the pill and when I was on the pill even, and this is not right for me. From the second cycle onwards, I actually downloaded an app to track my period and to track my cycle, which is called Flow. If you're coming off the pill, I would recommend that you download an app like this. I really love this app. I've tried other ones and I didn't really like them. I found this one is the most sort of simple to use, and I like how you can add in every single detail of what you're feeling and what's happening in your body. In the second cycle, I noticed that 5 days after my first ever period coming off the pill, I had this one day where I had spotting for an hour and I felt really nauseous and sick. I'm not really sure why or what that was, because apparently in that time frame I wasn't ovulating, so it wasn't that unless I did ovulate early. I thought I would put it in my notes as the first one because it was strange and I just thought I would add it in there. I have had things like bloating. Now, I've always sort of dealt with bloating on and off my whole life. Who hasn't? Especially as a woman. But there was 1 week in the second cycle, I think, or it could have been the third cycle, where I had incredible bloating for a week, and I think it was in the time of ovulation. My stomach looked like I was 3 months pregnant, and it was quite painful. There was a lot of pressure going on and it wouldn't go away, and I felt really uncomfortable. So I haven't really had anything like that since then. I also have had slight back pain during ovulation time, pretty much in every single cycle leading up to now. It would sort of change on different sides, and it's not really like a bad back pain, it's just like an aching kind of feeling. Sort of like you're gonna get period pain, but you don't, and it only lasts like a few sort of hours. I also have felt quite tired through ovulation, mostly in the first 2 cycles. I felt quite nauseous, mostly in the first 2 cycles of coming off the pill. I never threw up or anything like that, just like a constant like ugh feeling. I also have had slight pains in my uterus in ovulation time. They have gradually kind of got a little worse, which I'll speak about at the end of this video, what I'm doing with that. I've noticed that I get pains mostly on my left-hand side of my uterus. There have been other cycles where it moves over to the right, which is normal. Like, one cycle you will get it on the left, the next cycle it'll be on the right. The pain isn't really painful, it's just like every now and again I would feel a twinge up my vagina. Then it would just be like this dull ache for sometimes only an hour or 2, sometimes a few days. And the cycle that I'm having at the moment, like I'm in my ovulation time filming this video, I have had more of a pain on my left-hand side. So something to keep an eye on. Some women do feel pain during ovulation, but if you're feeling too much pain during ovulation, it could mean a cyst, which I will talk about in a moment. Then there was one, this is going to sound really weird, but there was one cycle where I think it was my second or third cycle. During the time of ovulation, I was having some slight sort of pain on, I can't remember, I think it was the right hand side of my uterus. My uterus just felt so heavy all of a sudden, like it was going to fall out. I know that sounds really weird, but that's how it felt. It felt like it was going to fall out. I don't really know why. It kind of felt like I was going to get my period, like about to get my period, or I just really needed to wee. It was like this really strange feeling, but I didn't need to wee. So that only lasted for a couple of hours on this one particular day, and I felt really bloated and nauseous and a bit strange. I also would get tingly sort of boobs during ovulation and kind of around that time of the month. I would get pain on the side of my boobs. I also noticed that when I was on the pill, my boobs were smaller. Now, when women go on the pill, their boobs get bigger. Mine got smaller for some reason. And I only noticed it when I went off the pill and my boobs got bigger, and I mean like more rounded. So my boobs were like this, and then suddenly when I went off the pill, they looked like real woman's boobs, like just fuller, if you know what I mean. And I did notice that my nipples looked different. The sort of glands around your nipple, I think that's what you call it, they just looked more prominent, if you know what I mean, for the first sort of 2 months. Now they've gone down, they look normal, but they just look different. That's all I'm gonna say. Then in my third or fourth cycle, in ovulation time, I got really sore boobs, and I mean so sore I could not even touch them. They were that sore, and it lasted for about 2 weeks, and then it disappeared like 2 days before my period. Then my skin started to break out after my second period off the pill. It started kind of up here, and then a few here, and then it got worse over that time up until now, which I don't want to talk about my skin in this video. I'll talk about it in my next video. My hair also started to fall out, I think in my fourth cycle, and I started getting like pimples in my hair in my third cycle, and dandruff and things like that, which again I will talk about in another video. Fun times. I know this is TMI, but in my third cycle I started to notice more changes in my vaginal discharge, which is normal. Get over it. If you're a woman, you know what I mean, but if you're a man watching this, well, I don't know why you're watching, because it's probably not interesting for you. We all have vaginal discharge, and it changes throughout your cycle, and for the first time I was noticing a change because I dealt with dryness most of my life on the pill, so that was an interesting thing to notice for myself. I also started to learn more about my body and what goes on in your body through your different cycles. And I started to check things like my uterus to see when it was up higher and when it was down lower. And that was something that I had never noticed before while being on the pill, because essentially it stops that kind of movement from happening. It's been good to kind of get to know myself in that sort of intimate way and realize what was, happening in my body, all the changes that are going on. They're basically all the symptoms that I have felt over the time of coming off the pill from December till now. Basically, a lot of those symptoms were like pregnancy symptoms. And it was a very confusing time for me, because when you look up things on Google, it all takes you to pregnancy. That's a tip for you when you're going off the pill and you're feeling different things. Just don't Google it, because it'll just bring you more anxiety. So if you're going through a lot of the symptoms that I just said, just know that your body is going through a huge change, especially if you've been on the pill as long as I have. Your body is just trying to work itself out. It's trying to figure out what ovulation is again. It's trying to get its cycle back, its period back. So just give it a few months to level out, ride the wave, and just relax into it. Go with whatever's happening in your body. That's my advice to you. So in terms of helping myself through this time of coming off the pill, I went to a naturopath on the 11th of April, which was in my fourth cycle, I think. My naturopath is my cousin, Darren Walsh. He's an amazing naturopath. He's sort of helping me just level out my hormones and get my body back on track. Now, I told him all my symptoms, I told him what was going on, and we kind of came to the conclusion that I think the testosterone, like male hormone, was being too dominant in my body and causing all of these symptoms and throwing off my hormones. First appointment, I just had a chakra acupuncture to center my body and realign my body. He didn't put me on herbs in the first appointment because I just had my period, I just started my period, and so he just wanted me to have my period as normal. And in the next appointment that I went back to him, he put me on herbs. When I first started taking the herbs, probably about 4 days later, I started to feel more like myself. I started to feel more like a woman, more feminine. It was really strange, but really good at the same time. And when I went back to him, I told him that I started to feel more like myself and more like a woman. And he said, well, that's interesting that you picked up on that, because the stuff that's in the herbs is meant to bring that out, is meant to allow you to connect to your feminine self and help level out those hormones. But he basically has me on the herbs, he has me on chlorophyll to help detox my body, and also NAC, I don't know what that is, but it is to help further detox my body. He's doing the chakra acupuncture every time I go. I'm really feeling like the naturopath appointments are really helping me on so many levels, emotionally, mentally, physically. So I highly recommend that if you're going off the pill, to go and see a naturopath who can help you balance out your hormones, who can help you tailor things to your specific needs and help you through this detoxifying time. Darren Walsh is his name. I'll leave his details in the description box below if you are in Melbourne and you need a really good naturopath. Lastly, before I finish this video, we spoke about last time me going and getting my hormones properly checked just so we can tailor my herbs better to my needs. We also spoke about me going to get my ovaries checked as well, just for peace of mind, because I have been feeling a bit of pain on my left hand side through ovulation. I just want to make sure that I don't have a cyst or PCOS. The stuff that he is giving me does help me with those things already, but this will just help tailor those things a little bit more precise. So that's pretty much everything up to date with what I've gone through on the pill, off the pill, and what I'm doing to help myself now. I hope you have enjoyed this video and it's been interesting for you and it's given you some tips, or just you can relate to it in some way. Let me know in the comment section below if you're going through the same thing. Start a conversation in the comment section. I guess I'll see you in my next one. Stay beautiful and I'll see you then.